Hello, everyone. Welcome to San Antonio Sports Motivation Monday. I am Mandy Adkins, and today we have the great privilege of visiting with Catherine Switzer. Catherine, thank you so much for being with us. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. And you know what? I'm coming to you from New Zealand. So this is really amazing.
Are you really? Well, thank you so much for being with us. So those of you who may not know, Catherine was the first woman to officially register and run the Boston Marathon in 1967. And during the race, she was attacked by a race official who tried to rip her bib number off and throw her out of the race simply because she was a woman. And she finished the 26.2 mile distance anyway, and she went on to win the 1974 New York City Marathon and to champion women in the sport globally. Most notably, she led the drive to make the women's marathon an official Olympic event in 1984. And now 58% of all runners in the USA are women. And to celebrate this social revolution, Catherine ran the Boston Marathon again at the age of 70, which is incredible, on the 50th anniversary of her iconic run. And she finished only 24 minutes slower than when she ran the race at age 20, which is just incredible. And so that run obviously launched her nonprofit, 261 Fearless, which is named after her bib number from the 1967 marathon. And her nonprofit empowers women globally through running. And she has been honored widely for her achievements, including being inducted into the USA National Women's Hall of Fame, which recognized her for creating positive social change throughout her storied career. And we got to know Catherine when she was in town for the Rock and Roll San Antonio Marathon. And we thought there is no one better to discuss motivation and sport and staying motivated in challenging times than Catherine. So thank you so much for being here. And it is just such an honor to chat with you.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. I mean, even so many thousands of miles away. And you know, it's interesting when you talk about the Humana San Antonio Rock and Roll Marathon, half marathon. That's where I was just before I came to New Zealand in December. And when I got here, you know, I'm normally here for a couple of months in the American winter. It's summer here in New Zealand. Now it's winter in New Zealand. But anyway, but when the Boston Marathon and subsequently all the other events were canceled and COVID was really wild in the United States, New Zealand was getting a grip on it. And we decided, my husband and I decided, look, it's safer to stay here. And so we're still here. And so it's an amazing country. I'm very privileged to be here. I miss my friends. I miss the US, of course, but hey, better safe than sorry, right?
Yes, that's so true. So true. Well, tell us a little bit about, we know that fitness is a key component in your life. So how have you stayed fit during the pandemic, and what have you done to stay active?
Well, interestingly enough, the pandemic has sort of played into my hands in terms of staying fit because I'm in one location and I'm not traveling all the time. Normally I'm on a plane every single week, everywhere, all to those wonderful Humana Rock and Roll events all over the United States and Boston, New York City, Marine Corps, Chicago, all these events I'm at. Well, and Berlin and London, et cetera. So now I'm not on a plane. So I have a consistency of time. So consistency in training and working out is the single most important thing. It's not how fast you run or work out or how long necessarily, but it's doing it every day. So here I now had time to do that. We were lucky in New Zealand that because it is a pretty open country, we were allowed to go out and exercise. We had plenty of open fields so that we weren't restricted that way. The rest of the time we were pretty much in lockdown like everybody else in the whole world. That was interesting, because what I found myself doing is not only going outside for at least an hour a day to walk and run, but then the core work, which I couldn't do, let's say in a gym, I did at home. But what did I do also? I really missed my 261 Meet Run ladies. And instead of meeting on Tuesday nights or Wednesday mornings or whatever we met at, we decided to meet online every week. And honestly, it was fantastic because, and I know that I'm a Pollyanna about all of this, but there are many silver linings to what's happened with COVID. And one of them is that instead of just working out with my group from Kingston, New York, I'm now working out with women from 50 countries around the world, and we are all online together. It's absolutely been fantastic to meet my global community. It's been really great.
Incredible. Yeah, that's very cool. And I think that, as you say, one of the silver linings has been, even though we're all home and not with people physically, the community that's been built through this, and we're learning how to build community in different ways.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, we also, the other thing is, well, do I miss the races? Of course. But now we can race virtually. It's not the same, of course, as being in a big group and having thousands of people cheering for you. But, to pin on a bib number and go out and run, take your selfie and send it in and see yourself in the results. And then some events are even giving medals. In fact, one I'd like to talk about here, hold on, I'm just going to unplug for 1 second. We just want to Here I am. Sorry, I'm back with you. So take a look at this. This is something called Move the World. And if you go to my nonprofit, 261fearless.org, which you talked about up front, we have a wonderful program going right now that's called Move the World. Sign up. It's only $26.10. You get a medal. You get the bib with your name on it. You get a special podcast from me and other really amazing women who are part of the movement. And you get a coupon for our store so you can buy gear. And we are running at this, or walking or crawling or swimming or biking, just moving any distance, anytime. That's not competitive. Men, women, children, dogs, whatever.
Very cool.
Yeah, and it's just 261fearless.org. And we'd love to have you join us. I can't wait to take part. I'm registering all my nieces and nephews because for them, sometimes it's going to be the first time ever they're going to get a medal.
Yeah.
And it's really fun. And you're part of a huge global community. We've been doing a lot of Facebook living about this, and we'd love to have everybody join us. It's really cool.
Very cool.
Just sometimes this moment of pinning on the bib, just going out, I don't care if it's 50 yards or 50 miles, you can do anything,
Yeah.
We just want you to move.
Yes, I love that. It's the bib, just, it makes all the difference in feeling empowered, and well, that's very cool. Well,
yes.
Tell us.
These are the things that have kept me fit and motivated.
Well, tell us a little bit about, in that regard, what has the relationship been for you between physical activity and mental health?
Everything. I tell you the truth. People say, why do you run? I say, well, running has actually given me everything in my life in one way or the other. It's given me my health. It's given me my fitness, given me my community. It's given me my religion, really, because I'm part of nature and the environment and the universe. I feel very strongly about that. It's given me my husband, my great love of my life, and my friends. But the single most important thing it's given me is myself. It puts me in touch with myself. I have a little talk with myself every day. I go through my gratitude list every time I run, but it's at that moment that I create, and then I kind of explain everything. And when it's tough going, and it has been enormously tough for people this year, really, really tough. This is a great time. It's hard to just sit quietly and meditate, but when you're out running or walking, the rhythm and the fresh air especially gives you a sense of, okay, let's get a perspective. Yeah. So for me, the mental health, the stress bust has been everything for the running.
Yeah. Well, in kind of similar to that and moving off of that, what would you tell somebody who wants to start running? Maybe they're not a runner, they've never run before, but they want to start, but they're intimidated or unsure how to start. What would you say to that person of how to get started?
Well, what I would say to women out there is join us at 261fearless.org. You're going to find a friend in the community. But the basic thing is, I'll tell you what, put your shoes by the door, then put them on and go out and just walk. Go out for a 10-minute walk. And then do that every day for a week, so you get used to the routine of going out, and then start just a light little jog or a shuffle to the next lamppost or the mailbox. I've heard from so many women, especially frankly, really, really overweight women who could barely get off the sofa, and they decided to take charge of their life by simply walking to the mailbox in the morning. And then they started jogging to the mailbox. And then pretty soon they got up their courage to go outside because they think everybody's looking at them. Trust me on this. Nobody is looking at you. Nobody. There are millions of people out there. And they're women of all shapes, sizes, and states of dress and undress. Nobody is looking at you. And just get out there and start that way. The other fitness tip I have is on this, is to start running, is if you're really having a hard time with it, get a buddy. Get a friend. You know, the friend will never keep you waiting. Okay. And so on those dark mornings, and it's gloomy and rainy and maybe a little chilly, and even San Antonio has those. I know it. I've been there.
Yeah, we do.
You know, the buddy will be there, and you can go together in the dark, and you can. And you know what? You're never going to need a psychiatrist if you have a running buddy, because you tell your running buddy everything.
That's so true. So true. Well, you know, speaking of the pandemic and kind of all the level of uncertainty and what's happening, we talked a little bit about virtual races, but everything from 5Ks to marathons have obviously been impacted by the pandemic. What will this new normal mean for organized running and marathons moving forward?
Well, you know, I could say it's a catastrophe. Okay, because and the catastrophe part is that many wonderful events are they're going to struggle for a while. I mean, the whole rock and roll series is huge, and I mean, they haven't been able to have an event, no Ironman, no anything. Right. Boston, Chicago, these are multi-billion-dollar industries. But it's not the big companies I worry so much about. It's the little guy who makes the medals, the little guy who prints the bibs, the person who's out there in the truck, you know, hauling the equipment for rock and roll races. You know, those people are out of jobs. And so I feel sorry for them. However, I'm a Pollyanna, and this is what I believe. I believe we will recover, and we're going to recover better. There's a lot of creativity that needs also still to happen in running. For instance, maybe it's never going to be quite the same, but maybe we start in waves of 50 or 100 people, and the waves go. Maybe for a while, some of the big races like Berlin, and even London is doing this, by the way, is just an elite race, and they're cordoning off the park in downtown London. So the elite race will be televised, and everybody will be, you know, very excited about seeing it. It's not the same, but, you know, our sport will still exist. We need to be creative. And I say to young people, especially who are athletic and maybe very frustrated at this point, put on your thinking cap and think of ways that you can make this happen. There are different ways. Frankly, right now, if you're having a race like, let's say, New York or London, you know, 50, 55,000 people, and they're all in there, body to body, sweating, spitting, using same toilets, grabbing water, hugging each other. It isn't the best situation for a pandemic. Right. And for a long time, we've been kind of pushing that envelope a little bit on some kind of disease or epidemic. I think we have been very lucky. Maybe it's because we're so insanely healthy.
You are.
No, and I think almost anybody who runs, if you look at the stats, and there are real reasons why. You know, it's not just mental stress busts, but when you sweat every day, you actually are running a fever every day, and so that's another reason why people actually are healthier when they run. Even when they're little gray, skinny looking people, when they're getting ready for a marathon, they don't look very healthy, but they are. But anyway, we can think about out of the box on this one and make this happen and make our sport come back even stronger and healthier. Yeah, I think. Yeah,
I love that. I agree. Well, tell us a little bit about. Can you share any tips that folks who are elite athletes down to those who are just getting started, any tips for staying motivated? You know, day after day, we've all been a couple months into the stay home or limit your exposure out. So tell us a little bit on how you have kept motivated and kept pushing forward, and what others can do to do the same.
I am now an ordinary athlete. You know, I'm not an elite athlete anymore. Let me tip my hat and say how extraordinarily sorry I am for really elite athletes, you know, having, for instance, the Olympic Games postponed. Okay,
Yeah.
that's 1 year out of your life like that just changes everything. There are a lot of people who aren't going to be able to go to the Olympics now because they were, I mean, I have some friends who were at the top of their game. They were 37, you know, they're going to be 38. They just can't hold this. They can't hold the peak anymore.
Right.
People who, swimmers, lifters, they can't get into gyms or the pools.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those things, they've got to be creative in figuring out how am I even going to train? A runner is probably the easiest. Okay. But for ordinary athletes, ordinary fitness people, this time has actually been very good because now you can schedule the time a little bit better. You can get outside. You're allowed to be outside. You just are not supposed to be in groups. At least in New Zealand now, we are down to having groups of no more than like 100, which is great. You could put on a race with that, but you can't have a championship. But in the US, you're still, you know, needing to keep that social distance and wear a mask. So
Yeah.
I would obey that. But in terms of your training, look, you have a little, you know how you always said you wanted to get fit if you had the time? Now you have the time.
You have the time.
Now you have the time, and you need it more than ever. There are a lot of, we call it here COVID kilos that can pile on. But the other thing is this, I'm finding again and again, I hear from grown-ups, adults who say, gosh, my kids are already going to college and I miss their whole childhood. Well, now often you're home with your kids. I know they're driving you crazy, but isn't this a time to empower them? Get them out to get fit with you. Teach them how, boys and girls, to kick a soccer ball, to run, to lift, to have fun and enjoy, and get them on the road to lifetime fitness. I love seeing the whole family out together like that. So take the time to do that. It'll be worth every moment. And I think from that perspective, a lot of people listening will look back on this time and say, you know, that time with my kids was the best time of our lives.
Yep.
And I certainly know right now with my husband, you know, I really hadn't seen him a lot in the last 3 years. And I was really traveling a lot. And I'd wake up in a gorgeous hotel room getting ready to make a speech or do a race. And I'm saying, you know, what am I doing with my life? You know, the guy I love the most is, you know, 5,000 miles away. Yeah. So we've had an amazing time together and it's been really wonderful. I think try to make the most of this time that is different in your life.
Yeah, that's such a great point. We have a 17-month-old, and so it's obviously been challenging working from home with a toddler, but we just treasure these days because when again will we have this undivided time together under one roof with not many distractions. So.
Well, you know, you probably are right now or just recently have been or soon to be watching that child take its first steps.
Yes. Yeah.
And how devastating it would be if they took those first steps in the daycare center and you didn't get to see it. So there you are.
Yeah. I've gotten to see so many firsts that I likely would not have. And so that's definitely a silver lining, like you said, from the past.
Yeah.
Well,
good for you.
As we kind of close out, I would love for you to tell us a little bit more. I know you touched on it, but tell us a little bit more about 261 Fearless and your nonprofit and what you all do.
With pleasure. First of all, you mentioned the official who tried to throw me out of the Boston Marathon. The number he tried to pull off of me is 261. And they're the rip on the corner where he got the one on my back, but I kept it, but it kept flapping in the race. But this number was 3 digits for a number of years and suddenly became a number, kind of a magic number, meaning fearless in the face of adversity. I didn't do that. People were writing to me and they were relating to that story because all of us in life have been told you're the wrong color, you're the wrong race, you're too fat, you're not cute, you don't belong, you're not cool. You know, right. We've all been told that. And they suddenly said, you know, running has made all that change for me. And they related to my story. So they say 261 makes me feel fearless. We changed that then, or harnessed it, I should say, into 261 Fearless, a nonprofit that empowers women in particular. It's a women's only organization, empowers them through the movement of running and also a strong educational program with community clubs We're in 11 countries now, 5 continents. We're only 4 years old, and we really use that community, your friendship, non-judgmental, non-competitive, to reach out and say, hey, remember you told me earlier in the interview, how does a woman get started because she's too intimidated? Well, you know what? I'm a fearless woman. You're an intimidated woman. I'm going to take you by the hand and say, come on, just come out and walk with me. Let's go. And then you have a group and you say, hey, this is fun. And then you have 1 hour a week when you're away from all the other crap in your life that bears down on you. And you realize, hey, I have friends. Hey, I can do this. And then suddenly, you start saying, wow, I just ran a mile. Wow. I wonder what else I could do. Yeah. And as we all know, once you accomplish one thing, you can open the vision to accomplishing everything else. So that's what 261 Fearless is. I would encourage anybody to join us as a friend, a member, or even start a club in your area. Very cool. We have a really good training program, and we would love to have everybody join us. And in fact, you don't have, you can be man, woman, child at this point. You can go sign up for Move the World and be a part of us too.
Awesome. Well, Catherine, your story is just so incredible and inspiring, and we've had such a joy talking to you today. And for anybody who's watching, if you're not a runner or if you want to be a runner, I would encourage you to take Catherine's advice and just put your tennis shoes on, start with a walk to the mailbox, and inch up little by little, adding those miles as you go and get started. So Catherine, thank you so much for being with us today.
I loved being with you. Maybe I'll see you again in San Antonio for the Humana Rock and Roll events, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.